are back. Welcome to the Ready, Set, Blow podcast, the very special Independence Day Part 2, January 6th edition, the anniversary show. Of course, I had to have my conservative friend on, David Hahn. What's up, brother?
How you doing, man?
You all right?
Good.
You
Yeah.
all right?
Just
What'd
my
you do in
birthday.
celebration of the 6th?
Well, I celebrated my birthday.
Did you change it to the, because of the, in remembrance to the 6th, or was it always the 6th?
I just made it the 13th day of Christmas. Yeah, I did. I made it the 13th day of Christmas. I didn't really do anything. I'm not one to celebrate my birthday, but
Neither am I, man. That's for fucking young people. Shit,
just-
dude.
I'm just, well, that and I'm not gay, so I'm not going to make a big deal out of my birthday.
Yeah, it's a big deal up until, as long as you can use it as an excuse to like party with your friends. But once you're in your 40s, it's like, I don't want to party with my friends.
No.
I like milling around someone's home with my friends. I'm not going to the club. I'm certainly not like these chicks that are like, oh, it's my birthday week or my birthday month. Fuck that.
My wife still does that. She's like in her 40s. She still does birthday week. I'm like, but yeah, you're complaining about turning 40.
Yeah, why are we
So why are you
celebrating it for multiple
an entire
days? I know.
week?
Do you want me to troll the comments on her page when she posts those things? I'm for hire. It's like birthday week.
I know.
How old are you? Ugh.
And also, I feel like once you're like over 30, it's like I don't need. I can drink any day of the week I want. I don't need a reason to go have a good time. Like my birthday is no longer an excuse for anything.
Yeah, I mean, we're comedians. We drink and laugh, I don't know, multiple nights a week. So
It's ridiculous.
I don't see it as being a. I did go out to dinner. I went to a Korean restaurant, but not the
Go see some family?
Not
What-
the self. Well,
Go visit the parents?
I just thought maybe my mom came back to life. I went to one of those Korean restaurants that isn't self-serve. The Korean barbecue shit. This one actually.
Well, they like cook it in the kitchen and bring it out?
Yeah, they cook it in the kitchen and bring it out. So yeah, I didn't feel like working in a Korean restaurant for my birthday.
I love Korean barbecue, and it is a smart idea because it's all about turnover, right? That's why those like Brazilian churrascarias are popular because they just fucking want you in and out. They want to turn the table over. But the food is good. I like the little it's not hibachi. That's Japanese. I don't know.
Yeah, well, here's the
It's all some version of
thing.
Asian to me.
Same thing.
But you smell like the fucking like a greasy kitchen
Yes.
when you walk out of there.
Yeah. Well, here's my problem with Korean barbecue is that it
The people?
Well, that too. I mean,
Well, you're Filipino?
Korean. I'm Filipino Korean.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where do Koreans stand in the Asian pecking order? Because I know that's the thing that like American, especially American white folks and liberals at college don't understand. Racism exists everywhere in the world, and in fact, this is one of the least racist countries in the world. And if you go to Asia, they are extremely racist.
Oh, dude.
I mean, like even amongst Asians, like they might all look the same to us, but amongst themselves, they really have a pecking order.
Well, listen. If you ask them, they're number one.
Oh yeah, any Asian country is the number one.
Yeah, they also love the idea of purity. So, Korea.
Purity?
Yeah. So Korea is I believe the most ethnically homogenous country in the world.
I believe it because I know Japan has one of the most restrictive policies to be a resident there. Like even Americans, which essentially refounded Japan after the war, they give out like fucking 3 visas. Like permanent resident visas to Americans a year in Japan. Like nobody can become a permanent resident in Japan unless you were like born there.
Well, and even then,
Even that's a little iffy. Yeah.
Well, so Ru Hachimura is he's Japanese. So I think his mom is Japanese, his dad is black. But I don't know if they have birthright citizenship there.
That's a good point. Yeah, because I know like in Ireland, if you can prove one of your grandparents was born there, you can get a passport and become a citizen. But it's the opposite in Japan. Like both your parents have to be naturally born there in order to get citizenship.
So I think they did give him citizenship because he plays for the Lakers.
Yeah, because he's famous enough.
Because he's famous enough, exactly. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. I don't know. I think I'm a citizen of the Philippines.
Your parents get you that when you were a
So
kid?
I was born in Korea, but I was born at the Philippine Embassy. So I think
that is Philippine property.
Philippine soil.
It's like wasn't Mitt Romney like born in Mexico, but he was on some fucking American soil somehow?
Yeah,
like some shit like that.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, I guess there's a lot of Mormons in Mexico.
Yeah, it's like
they like to fight the cartel.
Yeah, oddly. Yeah,
they like to fight the cartels.
They have like a weird it's almost like the Germans in Argentina, but for a different reason. They have like their own like self-contained community. And they have like sort of their own little governing laws, like their own county.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think what happens is the government of Mexico kind of leave them alone because they do fight the cartels.
Yeah, they kind of treat them like we treat our Native Americans, but way better because they're white and they have money.
Exactly. No casinos necessary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, but I have a Philippine a passport. So when I immigrated to the United States,
here he's looking it up. The Mormons in Mexican, or Mormons in Mexico. I wonder if Mitt Romney speaks Spanish. George W. spoke Spanish. Well,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, dude,
maybe that's why he got such
Texas
a high
oil man.
percentage.
I'm sure he had tens of thousands of fucking migrant workers in the fields working for him. Fucking,
He needed to tell them to get back to work.
And he was also a baseball owner. And obviously, if you're an owner in baseball, you got to, it helps to speak some Spanish to get those Dominican players. You can't compete without some Dominican players on your team. Yeah. Where's that sort of stereotype and racism, and how come no one's complaining about that? About how like Dominicans just own baseball?
Well, I think another question would be like, why Dominicans and not Haitians? It's the same island.
Yeah, it is.
No.
It is, and that's actually interesting too. I was telling somebody about that this weekend because they were asking me about my background. Because the club owner, I was in Hilarities all weekend. Shout out Hilarities, fucking one of the best clubs on earth. Best food on the road ever had. But the guy who owns it's a connected guy. And one of the managers was asking me if I was Italian. I was like, no, I'm actually Dominican. I was like, oh, no shit, blah, blah, blah. Talking about it. And he knew a little bit about the Dominican Republic. And what most people don't know, and I remember Godfrey talking about this in a post that went viral, about how Dominicans were basically, Afro-Caribbean black people. Mm-hmm. They don't call themselves black. They call themselves, no, I'm Spanish. And the big part of the reason is because they actually got their independence from Haiti in like the fucking late 50s, early 60s. Yeah, they felt like a really bloody war.
Civil war, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, what is their animosity towards Haitians? Well, in this lifetime, it's not even like, a full lifetime ago, like, World War I. Like, my dad was alive during, their fight for independence, and apparently the Haitians were really brutal. I mean, they were, it was basically a machete war. Yeah, like that's how barbaric and sort of third world the island of Hispaniola was at the time.
So it's like the it's like the black version of feudal Japan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I don't know why. I got to look at the history as to why baseball got popular in the Dominican Republic. But once one of those players got a major MLB contract, they kind of do it like how Russia does their Olympics or China does. Like if you show any promise athletically, they just pull you out of school and put your entire life into baseball. So like if you're like a talented 10-year-old player in the Dominican Republic, you basically get minor tutoring, and all you do is play baseball all day long. So like they hone their skills really well. So by the time they come to the States, it's not like American baseball players in like high school who like have to go to class. Like there's none of that. All they've been doing is training. So they're like super focused on it.
Well, so the fact they can't speak English very well, there's good reason for that.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So I guess Cuba does the same thing for wrestlers. Mm-hmm. And
South Korea does it for female golfers. Women's golf, like female.
Well, yeah, females are allowed to be born in South Korea. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. There's no female golfers out of China.
Yeah. Oh, so let me circle back and ask you that though. I do want to. Because you're an Asian American, so at least you have some perspective. But how would you say like who's like which of the Asian countries amongst their Asian culture are like known as like the top? Because like, Italians aren't Anglo-Saxons amongst the whites. So how does it work in Asia? I know everybody hates Japan because Japan raped every one of those countries.
Yeah, it's interesting because I would probably say white women love Japan.
It's close to America, so they might still be number one.
Yeah, so I don't know.
And then China.
If you were just going by me, I would probably prefer Japan over China over Korea.
I would.
My mom would be rolling over in her urn. She heard me say that, but.
The ashes would be jumbling around.
Oh my God! Like the urn would just fall off.
I know for a fact all of the Southeast, like the Southern Asia, like around the tropics, Indonesia, Philippines. Yeah, they're sort of like the Puerto Ricans of Asia. They're of a lower class.
Yeah, that's probably why my mom left Korea. Because they found out who my dad was.
They would have none of it.
Yeah, just like get the fuck out. It's like, dude. No, I would say culturally, I don't know. I would prefer Japan over Korea.
Yeah, I think
but,
and not that this is not me ranking them by their Asian race, but where I would visit in Asia, it'd probably be. I've been to Thailand, and that's cool. But Thailand,
of course,
like Indonesia,
you would go to Thailand.
Yeah, I mean, it's yeah. Well, not for the lady boys, but it's it's like going to the Caribbean, the tropics, right? So it's like a vacation spot. But I would probably say Japan, South Korea, Vietnam.
Why Vietnam?
Then China, based purely on how much Anthony Bourdain loved it and recommended the food.
Oh,
and they have Angkor Wat, that sick ass old temple out there.
Oh, no,
yeah. It's like on the border of I think Vietnam and Laos, I believe, or Cambodia.
See, I'd probably go Japan. Actually, you know what? I take that back. I would probably go Hong Kong.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, because that's quasi separate territory. Taiwan.
I would go Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan.
I basically base it on what looks cleanest. China looks fucking filthy to me. And how can it not be when you have that many people?
Well, don't they buy a lot of our garbage?
Do
they? It's like them in Africa. I don't know. I just
which is crazy that we just truck our fucking garbage. Yeah, we don't. We used to. I know New York. We used to send it out of state to Pennsylvania, but now we're like, fuck it, let's just send it to the whole other country.
Yeah, I mean, look, we send China our garbage. We buy their garbage.
Yes, exactly.
I'm wearing their garbage right now, I think.
I've said that before. I still don't understand how. Look, and I'm a finance guy, so I should know this, but I don't know how it's economically feasible. I mean, and this is the truth. Mm-hmm. We'll grow cotton in Mississippi or Arkansas, put it on a barge, float it all the way to China. They will turn it into T-shirts, float it all the way back, and those T-shirts will be sold at H&M or Forever 21 for $8 a whack. And I'm like, how is that just the gas alone? And you know how light cotton is to fucking barge it. How is that economically feasible? And the only way, slavery.
It's cheap. It's cheap labor.
No labor.
It's cheap labor. Yeah, and listen. My wife would be able to better answer that question because she deals with supply chain stuff like that, and she understands the complexities of all that stuff. And so, when something goes awry, she understands why it can hold up the entire system. But yeah, I mean, look, if you're paying somebody, if the GDP of a country is $500 a year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing about it. In this country, to sort of slowly get back into the politics side of it, fucking, liberals are like, slavery's bad and racism. But I'm like, you guys know that slavery still exists. We just exported it to China. Along with all of our jobs, we exported slavery. There's no way you're telling me paying, a worker, a 12-year-old worker 18 cents a day is not slavery. I would argue American slaves were treated better than the current Chinese factory workers, because at least they were in America.
Well, that's because Chinese are running those factories.
Yeah, yeah, they're way worse taskmasters.
They see people as sort of interchangeable,
Oh yeah.
So my question would be though is if you're going to pay a 12-year-old 18 cents a day, what would that 12-year-old make at another job in China?
Oh well, that's the point.
But that's the thing. They probably wouldn't make that much.
Therein lies the crux of it. It's the better. It's the least. There's no perfect option, but it's the better of all the other options.
Yeah.
And that's how progress works, man. You're never going to get perfect. But before that, they were forced to work in rice paddies to supply, under the communist regime, to supply food to the fucking masses, which was a worse job than working in a factory where 18 cents a day they could actually save a little money. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't subsistence level.
Yeah, so it says here minimum wages in China continue to rise.
$370 per month. God,
$370 a month. So that's a Chinese citizen working anywhere.
Yeah.
So if we pay them $400 a month, we're doing them a favor.
Oh yeah, and it also goes to show you that the actual true price of living on Earth, right? So $370 a month, that's a living wage over there ostensibly, or a wage that people are willing to accept.
Yeah.
And they can get by in some fashion. $370 a month here. I mean, homeless people panhandle more in a week on Hollywood Boulevard, and they can't pay their cell phone bill, let alone for their tent.
Well, you hear those stories about. Years ago, I heard a story about someone who would panhandle in San Francisco and make $70,000-$80,000 a year. I mean, you're doing it all day, but
smart about it.
Still, I mean, you're just sitting there. People are dropping money in a hat.
You're smart about it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's one of those things. I actually learned this directly myself. So I went to Medellin for the first time right around the time I started comedy on a one-way ticket in 2016, December 2016, and I stopped working in like June or July, and my original plan was to take like a year off and travel and spend a bunch of it in South America and try and relearn Spanish and all that. But I started comedy right before I went down there for almost a month, and then missed comedy so much and came back. But while I was down there, I flew a one-way ticket into Cartagena, and me and my buddy Tyler spent like 2 weeks in Cartagena, and they're like, "Oh, let's go to Medellin." And I had looked at going to Medellin when I was in the United States, so I looked at getting a ticket to Cartagena, then from Cartagena to Medellin, and then back to the States. And the flight from Cartagena to Medellin, when I was buying it in the United States, was like $400, right? 2 weeks later, when I'm in Colombia and I'm going to buy the ticket, it's $80. So I'm like, wait a minute, there's a $320 American tax if I buy this in the United States? What the fuck? So it was profitable for Avianca Airlines to fly me for $80 from Cartagena to Medellin in Colombia. But if I was buying the ticket in the States, it's only profitable at $400. It was like, they're fucking gouging. They're totally gouging. So it's one of those things.
Well, I don't travel, so I don't know what you're talking about.
When's the last time you left the country?
2015, I went to France.
For what? I couldn't picture that.
It's a family.
Talk about a place that you would.
Family. Well, it was
going to fucking Beijing is like you going to France. This is the worst place on earth for you.
Well, it was a family vacation. It was funded by the in-laws. So.
Oh, there you go.
So it was.
So you had to go.
I didn't have to go. I probably.
No. I mean, look, you're like me, cheap. If I give me something for free, I'm going.
I mean, yeah, it was just so the whole family.
I'll visit North Korea if someone buys me the ticket.
I think it was 2, 4, 6, 8 people. So they paid for 8 people to go to. We went to Nice.
Do you not like to travel, or is it just something you haven't done much?
It's just something I'm really interested in doing. It's I like taking road trips.
Yeah,
so I'll drive. I'll drive across the country.
I'm a big road trip guy. I like to travel, and that's part of the reason why I had any success as a younger person, because I just wanted to get out of New York. I knew the world was bigger than the streets of Queens. But I like going overseas, but I don't like going to other major cities. Because at this point, I feel like if you go to any major city, they're all kind of the same, or similar. Like across the world, like there's some differences, but it's all the same shit. But you go to like a natural landscape, or to see like the geography of a place I like. But you're right, dude. I did my first road trip across the country in 2012, and I was like stunned at how big and beautiful and like diverse landscapes are in this country alone. I'm like, I'll go to Europe when I'm done seeing the rest of this gigantic country, which is twice the size of Western Europe.
Yeah, I mean, I've driven there. Let's see, I went from, when I bought my car, I bought it in Tampa, and I drove it all the way back to Sacramento. And I had to drive through Georgia, and I've forgotten.
No, and culturally diverse in this country.
Oh,
That's wild. The United States, I mean, fuck, dude, each state is very different. And then you look at a fucking state like Florida, it's like fucking 5 countries in one. It's like Southern Florida might as well be Cuba. Central Florida might as well be, fucking Alabama, right? The East Coast might as well be, Jews from Long Island. It's also sort of like mixed up. It's weird.
What's up with the Panhandle? I keep hearing
things about. I haven't been to the
Panhandle
yet. I heard it's a good time, but I haven't been. You probably like it.
I don't
bullshit,
know. I don't really like. Like I said, I've been to Florida twice when I was 5 to go to Orlando for Disney World, and then I flew out to Tampa to get my car, and then I drove it back, and I drove through Georgia. I used to live in Georgia, but I was a kid, so I didn't really have a feel for.
Man, you lived in the fucking most hillbilly Georgia to Kansas.
Well, so
you're probably the only Asian in Georgia, and then the only Asian in Kansas.
Almost.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah. So
there had to be some others because there's Chinese food.
So I was,
which tastes the same everywhere.
Cooked by Chinese people.
Always.
And so I was born in Korea, and then a year later.
You were born in Korea?
I was born in Korea at the Philippine. Yeah, at the Philippine Embassy.
Because I was going to ask if you'd been back to Asia at all.
No. It was something I wanted to do. It just never worked out.
So are you actually a U.S. citizen though? If you were born,
I am. So I was telling you, I think I'm a Philippine citizen because I was born at the Philippine Embassy in Korea. So I have a Philippine passport, but we moved to the States in 1980.
Okay.
And I got naturalized with
Back when they had actual immigration laws that worked.
Yeah. Yeah, you couldn't just walk the fuck across.
But you can get a green card, and it was a process. Like there was background checks. Normal stuff. You had to get a job.
Yeah, so I guess my dad did the Filipino thing, joined the military for American citizenship.
Nothing wrong with that. That's actually, I feel like if you are not a naturalized U.S. American citizen and you join the military and serve in any combat capacity, you should, and you live, you should be fucking first in line to get citizenship. The fact that some of these people are still waiting around, it's like, what the have they not done enough? They got shot at for the country. It's pretty fucking better you than me, guy. I think he deserves a pass to the party.
Yeah, it's like, and here's the thing, like I don't know the full story, mostly because I don't talk to my dad. So I'm making this stuff up as I go.
Yeah.
I'm just filling in the spaces. Yeah. But my mom was naturalized in 83, I believe. So I became a citizen in 83, but my sister was born in 81. So I think she was the first citizen in our family. So yeah, I mean, I lived in Georgia. I lived in New Jersey.
Oof, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, so when you're a kid, you don't really understand how shitty things are.
So you moved around a lot, huh?
There's the military.
Was your dad in the military the whole time?
Yeah, so moved to New Jersey. The military brought us to Savannah, Georgia.
All right.
Military brought us to Lakehurst and Browns Mills, New Jersey. And then my parents divorced. My mom remarried another military guy. And then, so that's how I ended up in Kansas.
Oh, okay.
And so 14 years in Kansas.
Another Asian guy, or did she go?
No, this was like a 6'3" white guy.
Oh, she moved up. Nice.
Yeah, so she leveled up.
Assimilated.
She got colonized.
Yeah, which now is probably like a fucking, a derogatory term, assimilation. That used to be like, assimilation when I was a kid was like the goal for immigrants coming to this country.
Yeah.
Like my dad, like my Spanish is terrible because my dad wanted to learn English so bad that we would watch Sesame Street together. Yeah. And he was like, it's very important to learn English, go to school, like that kind of thing. Like assimilating into American culture was the point. The point wasn't to like bring the shitty parts of your culture here.
Yeah.
The point was to come here, have freedom, get a job, and eat the food you used to eat back home. Like that was kind of all.
Yeah, just open a restaurant and let everybody
else. All they brought was the food from their culture. The rest, the rest of the culture,
fuck
the rest of the.
Which is a great thing.
Yeah.
I tell people. So.
Well, that's my. I feel like that's the point. Like cultural appropriation, that's wrong. It's like we should steal the best parts of every culture in this country and leave the shitty parts behind.
Yeah.
Like take the pasta, leave the beating your wife. You know what I'm saying? Don't take the shitty stuff.
It's like take the pasta, leave the racism. Oh
yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. Bring your baseball skills and leave the lying about your age. No.
So I tell people. So my first language was Korean, but
can you still speak it?
No.
Okay.
So I tell people this. So my mom, when we moved to the States, she wanted me to learn English. She didn't want me to speak English with an accent.
Yeah, same with my father.
Which is funny because I was living in Savannah, Georgia at the time.
Well, yeah, what do they know? They thought that was the American accent.
Yeah, it was like, all right now, mommy.
You avoided that, thankfully.
Well, you know what's funny is I talk to other Asians and they're almost saddened by that, or it's like this. I get judged for it's almost like they're judging my mom for that.
Oh
decision.
Yeah, you're not Asian enough.
Well, they're like, oh, well, why? That's sad. Why wouldn't your mom have you learn? I don't know, because
are these younger people?
These are younger Asians.
Yeah, because they first generation kids from immigrant parents. Really, it's almost like immigrants to this country, especially in that era, were like sort of carried the torch of the American dream. The way my dad spoke about this country, you would have thought it was fucking paradise. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like comparatively, yeah.
And the people complain about it. The people who were born here, who are already have fucking born on third base and think they hit a home run when they waltz past the plate. My dad speaks of this place like it's a fucking Shangri-La. It's like there was gold in the streets. You could do anything in America. Be as American as you can. Like all that bullshit. And here it's like people born and raised here. They're fucking it's not perfect. This is the worst time ever.
Oh my God.
Like, you have no sense of history. The worst time ever. Yeah, it's not. Of course, it's not perfect, but it's way better than it ever was. Every day that passes is still better than fucking.
People aren't risking their lives to break into Cuba.
Dude, people are walking from Guatemala. You know what I'm saying? Like, like these caravans. Yeah, we should have some sort of system at the border so people can pour over. But I don't blame the people who are walking up here. I get it. I'm already here. I know why you want to be here.
I know why you want to be here.
I don't blame you. I blame our policies, not the person trying to get in.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I understand why they want to be here.
Wouldn't you?
If it were me down there, I'd probably be.
I'd start walking. Yeah.
I'd probably go for a hike too.
Yeah.
You know? But
like my dad, start swimming. Dude, that happens. Dude, Yasiel Puig like floated over here on a goddamn car tire. You know, like his like mother died in transit. Like, yeah,
Jesus.
He like literally fucking like on an inner tube.
Wow.
And picked him up. I mean, that's how desperate people are to get here.
I didn't know.
And then we're here bitching and moaning like, oh, what bathroom can I use? It's like fucking what an invented problem.
You know what gets me, man?
We'll get to the bathrooms when we solve fucking nuclear war. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a few things on the list that might be a little bit more important.
No, we solved nuclear war when we bombed Hiroshima.
Well, yeah.
Fuck around and find out. That's what.
In many ways, we did. In many ways, we did.
We solved nuclear war then. We're like, okay.
Yeah, it was so horrific that it hasn't happened again, but we did it twice.
And we should have done it sooner.
Talk about an American move. The second one, we just wanted to see what would happen.
No, we should have done it. We should have done it sooner, is what it is.
Well, they wanted to make sure they weren't going to incinerate the atmosphere. They had to test it first.
Right. Is it going to kill us too?
Like, wait a minute, are we going to die along with this shit?
Right.
But that Nagasaki bomb, that one was totally unnecessary and absolutely just done to see what would happen.
No, it was necessary because they surrendered after that.
Oh, they were already going to surrender. They were already going to surrender. We dropped it 2 days. We barely gave them time to process what the fuck. No one had ever seen that kind of weapon before.
I know.
And we used a second type of bomb. That's the other thing. And we detonated at a different height. So it was really, let's see what's going to happen here. The one thing we did do is not hit Tokyo, which was, kind of us. We could have,
Here's a map of Puig's trip on the screen.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, okay. Well, so he went to Mexico.
From Cuba to Mexico, if I recall the story correctly, someone in his family got sick or was ill and dying. He put them on his raft and swam.
They ran out of gas and had to spend the night adrift. At least that says that in there. I don't know what else.
So he went
by smugglers.
He went from Cuba to Mexico and then by foot the rest of the way.
Yeah, this is the best baseball player from Cuba in the last 30 years, and that's what he did to get here. That's how dope America is. That someone's willing to do that. Could you imagine doing it in reverse? I think was it Bill Burr once on a podcast was talking about it, about like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's like, can you imagine any American doing what he did in reverse, going to Austria, not knowing the language, learn the language, become a champion bodybuilder, then become the biggest movie star, then marry into their royalty? It would never happen.
No, it wouldn't.
It would never happen.
No.
It'd be like we should be so lucky that people are fucking clamoring to get in here. That's why I don't understand. There should be like a fucking draft process at the border. It should be televised.
I think we should make it really hard to get in, like build a huge wall, with guns.
See, the problem with the wall, I think it's too 15th century. We have drones and lasers and shit now, and we saw even Hamas got through a physical wall.
Well, that's fine. I mean,
what I want to do is hire 100,000 more border agents, jobs program, right? We like jobs, and just line them up shoulder to shoulder. Like every retired veteran should just immediately get a border patrol job and just stand in the line.
I like walls because they act as a deterrent. I think what we should do is we should hire a bunch of
Mexicans.
But
the walls aren't even that good, dude.
Well, we should hire a bunch of Mexicans to build the wall on this side, and once they're done, you get to stay.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's
and then if you can make it past the wall and the border patrol, you get to stay. But then we have to throw some West Virginians over the border.
Yeah, there's some natural-born Americans that we need to get rid of around here. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of them.
A lot of them. I mean, look, dude. Speaking of Asians, the railroad. They built the railroad. They got to stay. It's like, hey guys, if you live through it, that's how Irish citizenship started in this country during the Civil War. They literally just went to the boats in New York, said, "Hey, if you come down and fight for the Union or the Union, not the Confederates, and you make it a year, you get to stay."
Sounds like a good.
Sounds like a pretty fair trade to me. Yeah. Actually, more than fair for America. Honestly.
Yeah, we should have a jobs program like that.
I agree. Well, I've always liked the idea of a civil service, in that you could join the military, or after college you have to take a year and you have to teach in public schools for free. You join like a volunteer firefighter, some fucking pay into the kitty of goodwill in this country.
I think though, if you subject potential immigrants to the
no, not immigrants. I'm talking about even American.
Oh,
citizens.
just Americans.
Yeah.
I think we should instead of subjecting them to the public school system.
No, but it might be better. I mean, think about it, because a lot of you lose, especially if college graduates have to spend a year between 22 and 23 doing some sort of public service, and it could be across this. There's a lot of places we can use fucking people, right? I mean, EMTs, you name it. Fucking if you have carpenters, welders, whatever.
I mean, shit, being an EMT is almost a volunteer job anyway.
But that's what I'm saying. But you might get, because obviously you have a list of jobs you could go do. Like I said, not everyone has to be a soldier or a teacher, but if you have an interest in that, you'll actually get a smart person, as opposed to now teachers don't get paid well and the job is shit. So of course shitty people go do that. But if everyone has to go do something for a year, and basically live in a dorm and you get paid like a graduate year, basically, get paid sort of stipend. There's going to be a lot of smart kids that would have not otherwise never gone into teaching, and 1 year of them teaching is better than 0 years with a bunch and having all these old teachers who are just fucking awful and grandfathered in because of tenure and can't get fired. Sort of putzing their way through.
Yeah. See,
it's basically cheap labor force.
It is. It is. We need to find a way to cheapen our labor force. Although I think we're doing that just by letting a bunch of people through the southern border.
Yeah, well, that's how you stop the immigration thing, in my opinion. If you really start hammering the companies that hire illegal aliens and don't pay any penalty for it. So they Tyson Chicken Farm, like big slaughterhouse out in, I want to say it was like Mississippi. They rounded up like 600 undocumented workers, like INS or whoever it is now, ICE, and like threw them out. But there was no penalty for that Tyson Chicken Farm. I'm like, if they charged them $2,000 a head, you can rest assured they would probably stop, hiring so many illegal immigrants and figure out a way to get around that system. But if there's no penalty for for them behaving badly, they're going to just keep hiring. There's more new illegals every day.
Yeah.
And the illegals pay taxes. Why? Because they don't want to get fucking popped. They drive the speed limit because the runners getting thrown out.
I mean, they're drunk when they do it, but
yeah.
But they're driving the speed limit.
And of course, there's going to be a bad element that gets in. But the problem is there's no incentive alignment, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you're actually a hardworking individual, you should get rewarded as an illegal immigrant. And if you're a fucking animal, you should be punished. But even both of them get put in American jails, which are better than Mexican jails. It's like, what? Of course, an American jail is better than being poor in Mexico. So there's no downside.
I can agree with you.
There's no downside.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I mean, did you hear stories of people just going to jail just so they can have 3 squares and a place to sleep?
How fucking sad is that, dude?
Yeah. I mean,
some people go there to get clean from drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
We need asylums back too.
I agree. And I tell people, look, we have to really at this point the only alternative is incarceration.
That's the problem.
And but we have laws.
Which, by the way, the cost of incarceration has gone up because they've privatized prisons.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like whereas it used to be like $30 grand a year to house an inmate, it's now like 110.
How long ago was it 30 though?
It's actually all pre the Clinton crime bill. The Clinton crime bill.
So 1994.
Yeah, liberals, listen up. He is the one most directly responsible for the incarceration.
Joe Biden wrote it.
Yeah, exactly. For the incarceration state that we're in right now. Federal prisons went from like 800,000 to 4 million, like immediately after that bill was, and that's just federal, not even state. And that's part of the problem. Criminalizing drug addicts and crazy people instead of putting them in asylums where they used to be before is more expensive, not at all helpful, right? And when you privatize it, so it used to be 70 grand before, but now that company needs a profit. So if it costs 60. And the government used to charge 70 when they did it. And the federal government would administer the Department of Corrections. Now, when a private company does it, we'll charge you 70 plus 30% for our profit. So we're paying more to house these fucking people. Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I think at this point for the homeless thing, we almost have to incarcerate them.
That's the only option to get them off the street. Sadly.
And listen, I understand why they're concerns, because there from what I understand there were rampant abuses in the mental health industry.
Yeah, but there's also abuses in prison.
Oh, of course. Well, mostly by other prisoners, but.
But that's also part of the problem.
Well, and you're basically taking someone against their will and putting them somewhere and forcing them to stay there. And I understand the concerns about that, but it's like, okay, well,
but the alternative is to leave them on the street.
Well, and
where's the compassion in that?
Well, there isn't. There's zero compassion.
You shouldn't let them live outside. It's like, no, that is the most heartless thing.
Yeah.
Do something, dude. Say what you want. New York City passed a law, some 20 years ago. I think it was under Giuliani when he was cleaning up, doing the sort of those scoff laws.
Yeah,
basically said if you're homeless, something like a minimum of 90% of the homeless have to have a bed every night in New York. And part of the problem with them, that this new the new mayor Eric, whatever his last name is experiencing, because they're busing all these migrants up there because of this state law. They've run out of beds to put these people in, and he's like, no, but we just don't have any more beds. I would continue to deal with it if the government gave me money to pay for the beds that we need to put these fucking people in to match with our laws. That's why in New York City you don't see these tent fucking communities. There's no refugee camp under the freeway in New York, because there's the fucking beds, and also listen, New York homeless are tough. They get through a winter. They're like cockroaches. They survive.
Well, California homeless people are literally fair weather homeless people. I can't feel bad.
Agreed.
I can't feel bad for
the most high functioning homeless I've ever seen are in the state. In New York, if you're homeless, you're really fucking destitute and derelict. In LA, it's like you're just camping outside. I've seen more homeless people with cell phones in LA than I've ever seen in New York.
I've seen homeless people with TVs in garages.
It's crazy, dude. Some of their tents are tents that I would buy to go camping, and I have money. Like, damn, they got an Arc'teryx tent?
I can't
feel like a $1,200 tent. Who gave him that?
I can't feel bad for a population of homeless people where I'm like, it's nice outside. I don't mind being here too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in New York, they have harsh winters.
Yeah, it kills them off.
And
little natural selection.
Hey, and then their summers are hot and humid, miserable. Yeah. So if I don't want to be outside, then I'm pretty sure you don't like being outside.
But it's also like, we should do something about the homeless. Okay, what are you doing? Yeah, you have a 3-bedroom home. Put a couple in your fucking house. Oh, no, well, not me. Then shut up.
We were having that issue in Redondo Beach where the city council voted, they needed to vote on where to put a pallet shelter. And so there were a few locations that they were considering, one of which is about a mile from my house. The other 2 locations I do believe were in South Redondo. Well, the city council is mostly South Redondo, and so they don't want it in their area. But then what they did was they passed it off as a temporary pallet shelter, where they said it would be moved every so often, right? And so they got this guy. There's this guy who ran for city council in my district, and he campaigned saying, I'm going to vote against this, blah, blah, blah. Turns out he was a lying piece of shit. And he voted for it.
Of course he did.
Because he was friends with some other city council members in South Redondo. And I told my wife, I said, look, they're saying this is temporary, but watch. They're going to change it to indefinite. Or
just keep passing temporary resolutions forever.
But that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
So once it went in, they said, well, it's indefinite now. We'll review whether or not we're going to move it.
See, that's one of the things and that's probably one of the things I give conservative and Republican people credit for, but also it's what bothers me about where that party and that sort of section of the country is headed. They never pretended to care. To make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. Like Republicans, they're heartless, but they never said they were. They had a heart, right? Now liberals we care, but they don't do fuck all about anything.
Yeah.
So at least Republicans were honest about not giving a shit. And like I said, that's part of my problem with the Republican Party now. It's they used to actually have sort of the moral high ground on their idealism. Like even if you didn't like their policy and it might be, cruel, they're like, it is, but what else? What are we gonna do? But now they're trying to lie like liberals. I'm like, oh guys, don't do that. You used to have the moral high ground on not being a complete full of shit human being.
Yeah, I've watched the Republican Party take a populist turn.
That's part of the problem.
It's a very interesting thing to witness. It's happened in a very short period.
Dude, both of those parties are basically are in the middle of switching in our lifetime. The Republican Party used to be about big business, globalism, true conservatism, and liberals used to be about they were the party of workers and free speech. All that is in our lifetime. The Republicans are now the party of the working man.
Yeah.
They're the party of free speech. They're the ones who wanted to burn books before because of their sort of Christian wing. And now the liberals, free speech, fuck that, doesn't exist. They're the party of big business. Somehow and quickly, in the last 10 years.
Yeah, it happened.
It
happened very fast.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
It happened very fast. It was accelerated by the election of Donald Trump, and
he's the least Republican president of all time.
Well, he was a Democrat until 20 minutes ago.
Oh yeah, his values are whatever suits him in this moment.
Yeah,
which is very un-Republican because Republicans would cut off their nose to spite their face. I mean, John McCain was one of the few guys who was upset about the torture policies in Iraq because he was tortured. Republicans were the ones who fucking forced out Nixon because he was making them look bad. You stood on. The ACLU used to stood up for the Nazi Party in the 50s or the 40s in the United States. We don't agree with their message, marches. But this is the right to free speech. And now it's oh no, hate speech is is a crime or violence, and you can't do that. I'm like, no, hate speech is free speech.
Yeah, no,
it's the exact reason for the fucking clause.
Well, I think what happened was that the Overton window shrank and moved to the left. And so what happened was it forced the Republican Party to try and have to create a bigger umbrella. Yeah. And so that's why you're getting a lot of this.
Yeah, they have a coalition of Jews and far right.
So what you're having is a lot of infighting in the Republican and even on the right in general.
Yeah, both parties.
Because the thing is,
but not enough in the left. That's my opinion.
So on the left,
they're not calling out their crazies.
Well, the radical leftists are holding the Democrat Party hostage.
They're getting way too much.
They have a lot of more political power.
There's more pushback against the far right than there is the far left. I agree.
Yeah, the far right doesn't really have any political power. They don't. They're just
Well, they did, and then they fucking forced out what's his name.
Who?
They forced out the speaker.
McCarthy.
Yeah.
Is he far right though? I don't even know what constitutes far right.
He was far right until you had to get righter.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't really know what constitutes far right anymore. I understand. I know. I have an idea as to what the far right is because I've caught a glimpse of it. Yeah. But what's being labeled that?
Yeah, the labels are out of whack.
It's not. It doesn't line up.
I think of it as a big circle, really. Mm-hmm. That sort of comes back on itself. You're either into freedom, and individual choice, or authoritarianism. And both parties are, both parties' extremes are so far extreme that they're at the authoritarian point.
Yeah, the extremes of both sides sort of circle around and they
come
meet
back
each other.
and they eat their own fucking tail.
Because I think we talked about this before. The American political spectrum is generally it's between statism and anarchy.
Yeah.
So
you can't have pure individual freedom, or else it would be mayhem. You need to have some, standard of law.
Right. And so in Europe,
but then you can't have, you dictating every single thing you do, what drugs you take, what what you learn in school, all that shit.
Well, and that's the thing with Europe is, people try to compare the Europe and the American political spectrums, but Europe is sort of, the spectrum is different levels of authoritarianism.
Yeah, their far right is even righter than ours.
Yeah,
their far right are Nazi youth.
It's weird, man. Yeah. So, yeah, man. I don't know what's. What's funny. We've known each other for a few years. I've paid attention less. I think mainly is because I'm just tired of it. I can't keep track.
Well, dude, man, you're the same age as me. You remember when no one thought of politics ever in the day to day?
Never.
It never came up. I never knew my parents, my grandparents, aunts, uncles, personal friends. I never knew their political affiliations.
Nope.
It never was addressed. No one talked about it. CNN's ratings were fucking nil. Fox News ratings were nothing. Nobody cared. It just didn't come up.
No,
I prefer that.
I didn't even know who my parents voted for.
Yeah, exactly. When the government's working right, you never talk about it. That's when a government's doing the right thing. But instead, when you're fucking talking about it all day, it's like, this is bullshit. They're fucking it all up.
Well, in social media is just it allows it allows people
the feedback loop on that.
Ugh,
I know.
I fucking hate it, dude.
But also, people don't like to, people. It's a value trait that I think people have in that either you're curious or you want to, hear what you already know and be reaffirmed. Mm-hmm. And the problem with social media is it makes it much easier for the latter than the former. Whereas, the former, like oh, you learn something new. Like we all had 4 channels as kids, right? And then a little bit of cable. But we were all looking at the same thing and all getting, some version of the same story. Now you're online. The stories are so tailored. It's only what you want to hear, and that's not the truth, because the truth is somewhere amongst all the fucking facts that you hear. It's not, just what you. Dude, people really think that January 6th wasn't, a fight for America's freedom. Can you believe that? They thought it was some sort of riot, some sort of insurrection. It's crazy. That was a peaceful march through Nancy Pelosi's office. I'm kidding. No, but even that day, dude, people have wildly conflicting views.
Well, it's a protest that turned into a riot, and
I don't think what those people did that day in that place was the insurrection. The insurrection took place amongst the political class.
No, the insurrection took place when the country was founded.
Fair. That's why January 6th, it's July 4th, January 6th. In our lifetime, they're going to be second Independence Day, I think.
Independence from reality.
But also, you know what made that day it's actually kind of like ironic and humorous. The only reason that the Republicans, I feel like, get away with saying that wasn't like a true attempt at stopping a democratic process is because it was so bad. Like, that's how back in the day, protests in the United States used to have meaning and impact. Like Martin Luther King was very successful with his protest. Our protests today are so shit. An attempted coup was looked at like a joke because some asshole went in there with Viking horns and took a shit on Nancy Pelosi's office. Like, they couldn't even throw over the government, right? Like, we're so bad at doing stuff now, we can't even overthrow a government anymore.
Well, and that
we can't get anything done.
Well, and it's like it wasn't a coordinated effort. It was just a bunch of people who went to protest.
Yes, and that's part of the problem. And America used to be able to coordinate some shit,
right? And so and the thing is, it ended up being a bunch of dummies rioting, and it was
not even knowing why.
Maybe knowing why, but also it was.
They just got picked up in the moment, like, oh, let's go in there and steal some stuff.
It was the worst time to be anti-mask, by the way. Like,
that's the funniest part about it. Yeah,
the authorities are like, "Have you seen this?"
Up.
It's like, "Have you seen this person who took a selfie of themselves with full view of their face?"
If Donald Trump was smart, the day before, he should be like, "You know what? COVID's real, guys. Wear your mask." By the way, January 6th, let's start. You know what I'm saying? But also, you know what's bugged me out about that day? That they even got in. I thought there would be like gun turrets on the top of the U.S. Capitol.
Well, there was.
I didn't know how poorly guarded it was. Like, oh my God!
It was a failure of security, is what it was.
Yeah, I was like, what?
It really was.
You just march into the fucking office of the House of the Speaker like that?
Yeah, it was a failure of security, and it might have been a purposeful failure of security. I don't know.
And also, where's the praise for the police's restraint on murders that day?
Well, they murdered one person, I guess.
Well, yeah. Well, she had it coming.
Look. Unpopular opinion.
No. My view on this is the same as any Republicans.
I don't have
who watch someone get shot when they're breaking the law. She was warned not to go in. A gun was pointed at her.
Yeah.
She pushed through anyway.
Yeah.
Warned again. She burst through and then gets shot.
Yeah.
One shot didn't hit any innocent bystanders. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is perfect policing.
Yeah, I think in any other scenario, that's a good shoot.
Yeah, no, but even in that scenario.
Well, what I'm saying, but like for the people who are critical, for the people who are critical of it, in any other scenario, it's a good shoot. And the fact that they're trying to sue for damages over all this, I'm like,
that's
going nowhere.
That's where the Republican Party lets me down, because that's one that I feel like they would have gained more credibility. They said, "Oh yeah, no, we're behind the cops on when she deserved to get popped."
Yeah.
Because it's perfectly aligns with your values.
Right. I mean, look, given the circumstances of what was happening, I can understand why the officer fired the shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I feel bad that it happened. And,
of course, yeah. You don't want anybody to die over something so stupid.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
I don't want those people to die that young kid shot at that riot, but they shouldn't have been at a riot. I'd rather them not have been killed by that kid, but he had the right to shoot. both of them shouldn't have been there. But unfortunately, the circumstance the way it played out, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand why he did it. I understand why they were acting the way they did, and I understand why he got off, because according to the laws of that state, that's what it is.
Well, and also, we're having this conversation with nuanced views, and it's just it's hard to find that, and you're not going to find that online. It's not.
You're not
happening.
allowed.
You're not allowed because human beings have confirmation bias, and we're also prone to a negativity bias.
But also, you don't want to back down too. Like, I feel like in the past, if you were wrong, it was okay to say you were wrong. Now it's just double down on it. Some trans UFC fighter will beat the shit out of a real woman in a cage match. You're like, oh, it's okay. But then you're going to prosecute like R. Kelly for his transgressions against women. I'm like, well, if you don't want men beating up on women, maybe include that. Maybe be consistent.
Maybe it was just he was peeing on him too. Just
a little degradation,
a little salt water to the wounds.
Yeah, maybe if that cop pissed on Ashley Babbitt's face, it would have.
Then the family would have a case.
Yeah,
So he peed on her face after shooting her in the throat.
Yeah.
She shot her in the neck.
But what's interesting right now, and I rarely talk politics in this podcast. We'll go the whole fucking rest of the way. I don't give a shit. But what's interesting is the Supreme Court is going to take up old Donald Trump's
his 14th Amendment case.
Yeah. And
it should be 9-0, but it's probably going to be 7-2.
You agree, right?
Yeah, well,
9-0 that the 14th Amendment is written.
No.
Really?
No, because for the 14th because the 14th Amendment, part of what the 14th Amendment implies to is,
I want to talk about this.
Is due process. So, it's due process. So, Donald Trump was not tried or charged or convicted for any of the things that the secretaries of state are asserting that he is guilty of.
It was. I agree. Maine should probably be thrown out, but the Colorado one is the interesting one because that's gone through a course of appeals. But you're right. But my point about it is this, Dave, is that the way that these sort of originalist jurists view the Constitution, like the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, it's sort of sacrosanct to them, and they want to read it and try to interpret it as the way it was originally written.
Yeah.
And the problem with this case is that I agree with you. You should have due process. Each state should be able to try him in any way they want. But the conservative jurists on the court are now following this sort of originalist version of the Constitution. And if they really take it the way it's originally written, by their own values, if they read the Second Amendment the way they do, they have to read the 14th Amendment the way the liberals are reading it on this one. And that's where the hypocrisy comes in. That's my point to you. I agree with you that this is not something that the Supreme Court should rule on.
Well, they would have to.
I know, but you know why they are is because fucking 4 Republican lawyers came up with the idea, because it's an actual. If you read the language purely the way it's written, just the way they do the Second Amendment, they're basically forcing Republican Supreme Court justices to rule the 14th Amendment the way they do the Second Amendment. And they're going to prove them either inconsistent or consistent based on that.
Well, here's the thing.
Because if you just look at the words, it's written, that he shouldn't be able to be on the ballot. But you're right. In the context of the whole amendment, that wasn't the point of it. But that's not the thing they're trying to sort of push on here. They're trying to push the sort of force Republican, or not Republican, but conservative judges to continue to rule the way they have in the originalist context. So if they use their same originalist context with the 14th Amendment, they would remove them from the ballot. But I agree with you.
I actually don't. I don't believe that, because again,
they absolutely not, because they're hypocrites like everybody else.
Well, I don't actually think that makes them hypocritical, because
I think it does.
Because insurrection and rebellion, those two things are chargeable crimes. In the District of Columbia.
But the way that clause is written, it doesn't say it has to be convicted in that clause. That's what I'm saying. If you apply the same way they've been applying their jurisprudence before, they would have to make him ineligible. But I agree with you. Overall, I think he does have the right.
But it wouldn't be. But again, if that's the case, then those two things.
What if they say states' rights?
Well, here's the thing. So
right. So every state gets to ban whoever potential candidate they don't like.
Yeah, insurrection is a crime. A crime that he wasn't charged with.
Yeah, well, he couldn't at the time, because as a sitting president, you have absolutely.
And even still, they still have 3 years to do it. They still haven't done it. So what I'm saying,
Well,
so the point is,
it's taking so long in the court.
But even still, the point is, he hasn't been tried. He hasn't been tried, convicted of any of the things that are being asserted about him. Granted, I don't want him to run.
Oh no, I agree. But that's
at the same time, it's like, okay, well, you're saying he's guilty of insurrection by what metric?
But that's what's going on here. We're agreeing that he's insufficient, but the problem is that I agree with you. The way that whole amendment is written, he should not be. They should not disqualify him if you take the whole context of it.
Of course.
But if you take that clause, just like you take the first clause of the Second Amendment, and you use your originalist interpretation, like just the way it's written.
Well, it
says if you participated or encouraged insurrection as an officer of the company, you could never run again. Mm-hmm. It's pretty.
But even by his own words, it would be a hard case.
The Republican Party should fucking man up and get rid of the guy.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, even by Trump's own words, it would be almost impossible to prove that he encouraged, insurrection, and that's why the DC courts, they didn't charge him with anything. That's why, and I think wasn't he?
But that's the thing. The standard of proof is higher in a court of law.
Of course.
But just that clause. If you just look at those two sentences, just like they look at the two sentences of the Second Amendment, but they forget about the militia. It's like, oh, wait a minute, a state militia. It's not an individual. It's one of the.
But people made the militia in regards to the Second Amendment.
Exactly. Both sides are parsing the way they want to parse it. But when you go out on a limb and say, oh, we want to do things the way it's originally written in the Constitution. Well, the way it's originally written, technically, they do have basis. What I'm saying, the case that he should be removed is a legitimate question. I'm not saying it's illegitimate, because the way it's written is questionable in that way. And if a conservative was applying it consistently, they would say, yeah, maybe. But I agree with you. In the reality, the whole clause is just about making sure you don't have fucking traitors running for government that work for the union or work for a foreign country.
But even still, even if you isolate that particular part of the amendment, again, we would need some sort of an objective metric for what constitutes insurrection, rebellion, and we have a means to do that. And so, given that, look, the Supreme Court's going to hear.
That's the way I feel about abortion too. The same thing, though. It's like, can they vote? They're not people. So the question should really be how many weeks, not whether or not it's legal.
Yeah, I agree. Right.
With you. The question with the Fourth Amendment, what is the bigger question? Does the president have absolute immunity? I cannot believe that there is no fucking law on the books that defines when the president can and can't pardon himself, when immunity exists or doesn't exist.
Well, it would need to take a precedent, and I think Donald Trump is probably going to serve as that president.
Yeah, sadly, I think he's obviously going to win the Republican nomination. I think he has a more than a fair chance of winning, which is shameful.
Which just tells you how crappy Joe Biden is.
That's what I'm saying.
he's terrible.
This is Democrats are good at getting shit passed when they're in office. Mm-hmm. Horrible at getting into office. They get a lot of shit. A lot of their policies passed once they're in. They have the avenues. Mm-hmm. But then they shoot themselves in the foot where they put up these dog shit candidates that can't get elected in a general election, and then they wonder why they lose all the time. And then the Republicans win an office and can't get shit done. It took like 7 tries for Trump to pass his tax cut. It's like with all three levels of government under Republican control.
Yeah, and again, that's the thing that a lot of what we call the Cult 45.
I like that.
That's what Cult 45 fails to admit, is that he had full control of all branches of government for 2 years.
Dude, Republicans
got nothing done.
Republicans should be a little more mindful, because they're starting to act like Democrats in that they used to, we'd rather win than be right.
Yeah.
They would win in a landslide if DeSantis or Haley or even Vivek Ramaswamy were the nominee. It's going to be closer than it should be.
Yeah.
Because they're foisting up this fucking guy who lost 2 or 3 elections in a row. The midterms, every candidate endorsed got fucked. He lost the last one. It's like, God, put up a fucking
Yeah,
winner.
I mean, since 26, he's lost every.
Are you telling me DeSantis isn't right enough? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it's not even that.
That's my point. That's my point. They're putting up a guy just because out of spite. It's
again,
like,
the ironic thing is to say DeSantis isn't right enough, but then choose the guy who was a Democrat his entire life.
Yeah.
The guy bankrolled Jesse Jackson's campaign for president. He donated to the Clinton Foundation.
He was anti-war, pro-abortion, all the things. All the things Republicans weren't.
Yeah, it's really weird, man. I don't understand it. I
know. Well,
can't-
I kind of look at politics now. I almost watch I watch CNN or Fox News as much as I watch Bravo TV, which is to say for 30 seconds. As I'm flipping through.
Yeah.
But I look at it like it's almost like the NBA offseason. Like I like the drama. It's like a soap opera. Watching these people with their hair on fire act like fucking morons. It's ridiculous. They can't get out of their own way. But of course, why would they? Incumbents stay in office 92% of the time. They're getting paid minimum $175,000 if you're a senator, $200,000 or $300,000, president, $500,000. But fuck that, the power that comes with it, the siphoning of money. Look at that cocksucker in New Jersey taking gold bars from Egyptians.
Mendez.
What
is it, Mendez?
Yeah. It's like, what?
You could serve one term. You can serve one term in Congress, and you will get a pension equal to your salary for the rest of your life. So I'm told.
The average federal employee, and this is not just elected officials. I'm talking about you work for Department of Education or Homeland Security, whatever. The average federal employee gets paid about $105,000 a year. The minimum wage hasn't changed in 30 years, but their salaries keep going up.
So I think we need to start working for the government.
Yeah. And you get a lifetime pension at 20 years in.
Yeah. Or again, if you serve in Congress, you should get a lifetime pension for one term.
Oh, even better, dude. You can insider trade legally.
Have you seen that?
That is one that both parties are kicking under the rug.
Well, have you seen that Instagram?
They've named Pelosi was in it, and like 4 or 5 huge Republican senators, Grassley, about how aggressive they were about their insider trade.
Yeah, I would.
Never mind.
I would do it. What? I mean, why not?
Yeah, but that's part of the problem.
But that's the problem.
It goes back to the same thing with immunity for the president. Why is there not a law? How did we not know the president couldn't pardon himself? We've never considered that possibility.
I don't think we knew that because it wasn't something that.
Yeah, norms. That's the problem with norms. It relies on people's goodwill, and people are trash.
We never had to ask that question before.
Yeah, because people were decent. But you can't leave if you leave room for people to act like a piece of shit. They're gonna.
Have you seen that Instagram page, Pelosi Tracker? I don't know. Maybe it's different now, but this guy.
No, but they have funds. They have funds on the like I think maybe Vanguard or like Roe. They have these mutual funds that just map. Yeah, they just map. Exactly. They do essentially this. They map the trades of Congress.
Yeah,
because Congress beats the market by like 10%,
and so
which is incredible.
This guy tracks it in real time.
Yeah,
and he was actually banned.
They do that with Warren Buffett.
So before I think I think he might have been. This person might have been banned before Elon Musk purchased Twitter.
It's funny. This guy's allowed back on, but the guy who was tracking his airplane is now thrown off. Which is also public available information.
So this guy will track like their moves in real time. And so I'm just wondering if that's something if you follow, if you can just sort of make the same.
You can. That's why they track this shit.
Nice.
They do that with Warren Buffett. Hey, Mike, can you look that up? How is Congress perform against the market, against the S&P 500? Because I want to say the S&P 500 like returns on average over the last 100 years like 8%, and if you just track Congress's portfolio, it's like 17%, which is better than Buffett. Here we go. 24%,
which was up 24% in 2023.
That's 3 times as better. Mutual fund managers, 90% of mutual fund managers can't beat the S&P 500.
So speaking of Warren Buffett, so I don't know if I have the details correct, but I read years ago that what Warren Buffett did was he was a staunch advocate of high-speed rail. So he became a staunch advocate of high-speed rail. But he just so happened to have purchased a lot of Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad.
I remember when he did that. Yeah, this is late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, and then he was also a very, very big proponent of the bank bailouts back in 2008
Yeah,
or
because
2009.
he got a sweetheart deal from Goldman Sachs.
Yes. Well, and he also purchased a lot of
Wells Fargo,
Fargo.
which he owned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, it's true. Dude, T. Boone Pickens, for those who don't know, so T. Boone Pickens it's like we'll be done in a second. Was a super conservative from Texas oil man.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the end of his life, he sold all of his oil holdings and started aggressively buying wind farms and water treatment facilities and underground aquifers. And like, well, Boone, why are you? This is the guy who paid for the ads that swift boated John Kerry during the second second Bush election year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, why are you getting into wind farms? I thought you were into oil. What's with the renewable energy? He's like, well, I'm into money. He's like, there's more money in wind now than oil. Like, there's infinite wind in Oklahoma, so I'm going to put up with. I don't give a shit. It's like I never gave a shit about oil, like or the wind. Like, I just want to make money. Thank you.
Yeah.
Of course, you should get into solar. It's fucking infinite. Like,
Well, it's also subsidized by the government. So I mean, if anything that if you can sort of get into what's mandated by the government, there's just going to be a constant stream of revenue. That's what.
Well, you saw it today. They're getting closer to a resolution on passing like a federal budget, and so it was a $1.6 trillion package. Spending for military, as always, went up 3 to 4%.
Yeah.
$886 billion. So that's one part. The other part was like $700 billion for everything non-military. So we're spending like 60% of our money on them, even though we stomp any army in the world. But one side always goes up, and then they bicker about the crumbs left on the table on the other side. So what, guys? The DOD didn't want 880. They asked for like 807, and they gave them 886. Like, what are we going to do with the other 79? Like,
I mean, does foreign aid count towards the military budget though?
No,
it doesn't.
No,
okay.
That is the State Department. That's what's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what counts in there is the weapons we sell to Israel.
Oh, okay.
I mean, come on. This is one thing I'm actually really proud of America about. We number one military component buyer, Israel. Number two, Saudi Arabia. just arming the arch enemy.
I mean, we did that to Russia in World War II.
Yeah, I don't. That's the American way.
What was that? The Lend-Lease, I think.
Yeah. Take money from both sides.
Yeah. The only reason I know about T. Boone Pickens is because he was a major donor, a major booster for Oklahoma State University.
Oh yeah.
And there was a story done on him where they were building a new football stadium.
Yeah, that's right. He built that giant stadium.
So he was talking about paying for the football stadium, and he wrote him a check for $300 million.
See, that is actual real wealth right there.
Yeah.
And Mark Cuban said that years ago, before Donald Trump was even a candidate. Because Trump was talking about how wealthy he was, and he got above Cuban on the Forbes list.
Yeah.
And he's like, but I could write a check for $100 million. I bet you could get $70 out of him cash right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, paper wealth and actual cash and money where you can sign a $300 million check.
Cuban for a long time was liquid. I think he was $2 billion liquid.
Yeah. You know how he did that? When he sold broadcast.com to Yahoo, he did a swap with Goldman Sachs on his stock and got all cash, and basically sold their stock at 75 cents on the dollar. It's like, oh, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'll take my money now. And sure enough, that became worth like literally 2 cents on the dollar. Goldman Sachs lost their shirt.
His story is an interesting one where he would just put a radio up to a microphone on his computer and just broadcast it over the internet.
Dude, I don't care what people say, man. Success, you will be successful if you work hard, but outsized returns successfully, a lot of that's luck. Like Mark Cuban would have been a millionaire and lived fine, but the fact that he's a gazillionaire, he was at the right place at the right time.
Well, you also can't be stupid.
Oh yeah, avoiding losses is.
I'm just like straight up. Like, there's a certain level of intelligence that is requisite for thinking.
Only sports and entertainment can you be, a functional retard and actually, be a gazillionaire.
Well, I mean, or you can have it handed to you like the Maloofs. They owned the Houston Rockets for a while.
But didn't they also own
The
Sacramento
Sacramento. So the Maloofs inherited the Houston Rockets from their dad.
Yeah, see that.
And then they ran it into the ground apparently, and then they went and bought the Sacramento Kings, and they did better with that. They had a good stretch, but then towards the end they were just like.
I'm not a big fan of inherited wealth. You should be able to inherit a bunch of it, but some of it you should have some fucking, some skin in the game. Like,
Oh, I agree with you. I agree.
I respect any self-made person, but it's like, your father gave you $2 billion, you turned it into $1 billion. It's like, I'm not impressed.
Wealth generally only lasts 2 generations. Inherited wealth, they track it over time, and by the 3rd generation, it's all but.
Well, that goes to show you that if you give it away, they're going to lose it. Something about earning money, make sure you keep it. Yeah, you're a lot more likely to keep it when you've earned a fucking thing.
Of course.
Yeah. All right, let's get into a little news, buddy. So the big news of the week: Jeffrey Epstein files have been released. Obviously, all the usual names are on there. Prince Andrew, the Clintons, of course. Donald Trump, not at the island. Smart guy, stayed away from the island.
Mm-hmm.
But the one I wanted to ask you about, my guy, fucking Stephen Hawking. So Stephen Hawking apparently was a frequent guest of our friend Jeffrey Epstein at his island and would have orgies with these young girls. And I'm stunned because that guy looked like he couldn't. Like, how would his dick work? His mouth didn't work.
I'm just wondering if they constructed a special like sex harness for him. They just put him in, like they took him out of his wheelchair and they built a sex swing
in like a weird swing.
Yeah, they put him in a sex swing
fed him Gerber's baby food.
They put him in a sex swing with a dick.
Yeah, could he get an erection? How would that even work?
I mean, I figure it would just look like the rest of his body.
And also, how is he gonna? He's not gonna be able to say he got laid or not. He's not in his chair. So if like those girls were like, oh yeah, we did it with him, and they just lying, they just left him in the swing.
Yeah, he got back to his wheelchair. Did you come?
Did you come? Well, dude, he he's blowing into a straw to move his electrical chair.
Did you?
Did I make you come?
Oh my God! I figure like, okay, well, Stephen Hawking's erection would just look like a melted popsicle.
Oh my God! Yeah, who knows what it looked like, dude? He got divorced from his first wife and married one of his nurses. And that's how you know marriage is tough. A guy in a wheelchair should be grateful to have one woman. He's like, no, this bitch is driving me crazy. And can you imagine getting an argument if you're Stephen Hawking with your wife? How do you argue back? It just takes you forever. You're just getting fucking a barrage of shit. And he's like sitting there trying to use his eyeballs to type out a fucking on his little AI bot. It takes him 3 months to respond. You stupid cunt.
Oh my God. So wait, they made a movie about him, The Theory of Everything, right?
Oh yeah.
And so wasn't that like a love story?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the woman in that movie was she his first wife?
I suspect.
She gets her heart broke.
Oh.
She gets her. If I were her, I'd be relieved. It's like, oh, thank God, this guy found somebody else.
Jesus.
I don't love myself enough to take care of myself in a wheelchair. I'd roll myself off a cliff.
Oh man.
Let alone take care of somebody else.
Yeah, just.
But also now, are we going to now say that black holes don't exist because Stephen Hawking got canceled? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't listen to R. Kelly music on Spotify anymore. They removed it all.
Did they really?
Because of his transgressions, yeah.
Oh, that is weird.
Does it mean that we have to say that gravity's not real because Stephen Hawking, is a fucking pedophile? Or do we get to keep what we've learned from him?
Well,
what gets canceled in the wokeness?
Listen, if gravity's no longer real, I need Southwest to stop charging me for the weight of my checked baggage. They need to stop charging me anyway because they're letting fat people have 2 and 3 seats. But
the Jeffrey Epstein thing I feel like it's the JFK level conspiracy of our time, in that JFK was clearly a conspiracy from day one.
Oh, as far as his death is concerned.
Yeah, the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. I'm convinced at this point the only way he got rich is by extorting these super influential people.
Yeah, no one can track how he made his money.
Yeah, well, he stole a lot of it from Les Wexner, who was a closet homosexual for many years, and I'm sure he was just extorting that fucking guy.
That's a lot of extortion.
Yeah, well, Les Wexner was worth He founded fucking Victoria's Secret and
Oh, that's right, he did.
Yeah, and over the course of like managing, quote unquote, managing his money for 10 years, he siphoned off like $800 million for himself. And Les Wexner was like, fine. What is in your past that's worth $800 million?
Nothing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Nothing.
How horrible that you want to cover it up that badly.
Nothing.
I wish I had an $800 million secret.
I'd be like, I killed John Benet Ramsey. Give me my $800 million back.
Yeah, and Casey Anthony's kid. I killed that kid and the other kid.
Hey, OJ, it was me. Rest easy. Give me my $800 million.
Yeah. I was the one who kneeled on George Floyd's neck. Give me I gave the order.
I CGI'd Derek Chauvin's face onto mine. It was me. Give me my fucking money.
$800 million. Jesus.
$800 million, bro. You can't admit sucking a dick for $800 million?
I'd suck dick on this podcast right
for $800.
Mike, whip it out. You got $800 million, buddy?
You'd do it for $8.
$8.
Million. I was gonna give you $1 million, but $8.
$8.
Yeah, I'm an easy guy to barter with. I saw this and I thought of you. Staying home with kids is more stressful than going to work, according to a study of 1,500 parents. A 2018 study conducted by Avino Baby said that 31% of UK parents find staying at home with children more challenging than going to work. You have kids and you work. What do you think is more challenging?
I would rather stay home with my kid.
That's the right answer.
Yeah, I would rather stay, and it's the real answer, mainly because on my job I'm walking around for 3 or 4 hours. Sometimes I have to walk on a roof. I got to crawl under a house.
Dude, even my job, when I was just sitting at a desk, like the stress level, like if I'm going to be stressed at any level, I'd rather it be by spending time raising the human that I love and brought onto this earth than not.
Yeah.
But I could see how it's stressful, one, just on a day-to-day, but two, the consequences, right? If you get fucked up at your job, you get fired. You fuck up raising a kid, you brought a monster onto this earth.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, exactly. That you have to live with and speak for and claim as your own.
But here's the thing. It's a series of fuck-ups over a long period of time. You fuck up at work once or twice, you get fired. There's an immediate feedback. Me saying the N-word in front of my daughter, she probably won't suffer the consequences.
She's going to learn the right way to say it.
She said she'll say, "Hey, there's a K in front of the N." The K is
dude, you sent me that. I won't say his last name. Loa, Knigga.
Noah,
and the K is not silent. So his dad, I saw
the K is not silent.
Yeah, look it up, dude. So he's a high school football player who's being recruited by colleges, and his dad said his name because the name, how do you say that without getting canceled? And the K is not silent. It's Knigga.
Knigga, yeah.
But if he named him Noah, he knew what he was doing. His parents knew what they were doing when they named him that. Come on, you have to know.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of funny.
It's hilarious. And he's been
I'm sure the black guys on his team love it.
They love it.
Yeah.
He's got
I'll be excited to visit West Virginia on the 14th. Noah Knigga.
He's got a K-word pass.
What if he says like, I would love it if he went to like a courthouse like, guys, listen, I really want to change my name. It's embarrassing. I get a lot of flack for it. And judge is like, okay, what do you want to change your last name to? Knigga. I want the hard R on the back end. Just like, what?
They won't. They like hospitals won't let you name your kids certain things.
I know. I've learned that.
Yeah,
you can't name it like "fuck you" or something.
Well, you can't name someone Adolf Hitler.
You can't?
No.
They made that illegal in this country?
I want to say.
I know in Germany it's illegal.
I want to say somebody tried to name their kid.
Well, Adolf
Hitler.
is legal, but Hitler.
Someone wanted to name their
first name
middle
Hitler
name.
Middle name Hitler?
I think maybe middle or first name.
Randy Hitler Valerio?
It's on brand.
Are there any Hitlers out there anymore?
I doubt it.
Like last name Hitler. Yeah, look that up.
I mean, they would probably change their name if they were smart.
Or was it a common name? Yeah.
Because it's Austrian, right?
There are only 5 living members of the Hitler family. They all changed their name, looks like.
Said if they had their way, the bloodline would stop with them.
I know, but there must have been people named Hitler that weren't related to him. There's people named Valerio that are not related to me.
Right. Right.
So,
Well,
so did those non-related Hitlers also change their name?
you would almost have to.
Of course.
You know, if my name was David Mao Zedong, I would probably
Fucking David Dahmer. It's like, all right, I'm gonna move off the Dahmer.
or
The
Stalin.
2010 census recorded fewer than 100 people across the USA have it.
I'm gonna start a Facebook group, the Hitler name. You know, see what you're out there for.
133 people added an extra T.
Oh, that's how they got rid of it. Okay.
I don't think that
still,
helps.
It's still
It doesn't-
Hitler.
Yeah, you just have to say Hitler.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just ask Noah Kaniga what that's like.
Yeah.
They should have went Hitler.
Hitler.
Go soft A.
Off soft A. Oh man. Hitler.
Hitler. All right.
Oh man.
Let me get to the last one. Mike, that was a good one, buddy. I like that. Woman discovers husband's affair with her own mother. A TikTok has gone viral with a woman who revealed her husband has been having an affair with her mother. My mom was living with us, and she was staying down in the basement. But after several months, she ended up renting a house that was like a block away. And my husband and her carpooled to work together every day. One day, the TikToker went over and confronted her and her and her mother separate about the cheating allegations they brought up. And he said, well, why doesn't your mother tell you what's been going on? And apparently she copped to the fact that they were having an affair. Now,
So wait. Question: Are these Latinos?
this woman doesn't appear to be, but who knows this day and age?
Because I only asked because I'm like, I feel like
The mom is young. The mom is young enough to be hot.
Yeah, your mom, like as a Latino, like your mom might be young enough to still be good looking because I don't know of anyone who's married to somebody who would find their moms as attractive as their wives.
Yeah. And they have to. The age gap has to be close enough.
Yeah.
You know, or your wife has to have gotten really slovenly since the marriage, and
Some ugly whites.
Ugly, yeah.
and your mother-in-law kept it up.
You know, or maybe the husband is like significantly older than the wife.
Yeah.
You know,
Which
so
could be the case.
Yeah,
A TikToker, she's young. She might have married a rich guy, something like that.
Yeah, so your husband's like 15 years older than you, but then your mom is only 23 years older than you.
I mean,
so
I
there's
think
only an 8-year difference.
Yeah. I think this TikTok chick is looking at it all the wrong way, man. A lot of times guys don't get along with their mother-in-law. This is an actually really positive relationship, and she should be proud.
It's very.
And they get along so well.
It's the pinnacle of the relationship with your mother.
She likes her mom too much.
Oh my God!
The world's gone mad, but this is always fun, Davo.
Oh,
Where can the people find you?
you can find me on Instagram at David Hahn Comedy. The Hahn is spelled like it's German.
Similar to Hitler?
Yes, it's H-A Hitler N. Hitler
N.
Hitler N. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me probably roaming these streets.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm a homeboy.
Follow me on Instagram. That's where all the shows are. You can follow the show at Ready Set Blow Podcast. Follow me at Randy Villera, guys. We love you. Happy to be back in the new year. I am no longer working for the old company. Got a new day job starting up, but it's all work from home.
Oh,
so
nice.
So you guys will be getting a lot more of me on the podcast. Love you guys. Check you next week. Peace.